What you see right behind me is Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy 9903. Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy 9903 was built by the Bud Company in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in 1935 and is a stainless steel Burlington Zephyr 5-car articulated passenger train. This passenger train is named the Mark Twain Zephyr. Originally, the passenger train was built with only 4 cars. The original cars on the train has names and numbers, and I will explain about the 5th car in a little bit and talk about how it ended up with the Mark Twain Zephyr. The locomotive is named Engine Joe, and it is the locomotive of the train and number 9903. Becky Thatcher, which is numbered 506, is the baggage car. Huckleberry Finn, which is numbered 551 and is the coach dinette car. And Tom Sawyer, which is 572, is the coach observation car. This train ran over a portion of the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy Railroad between Burlington, Iowa, and St. Louis, Missouri. In 1958, it was retired and sat in storage in West Burlington, Iowa. In 1960, it was purchased by Charles Dashner of Glenwood, Iowa, and he tried to sell it to Cuba but couldn't because of rising tension over communism and the Cuban Missile Crisis. There was a plan to develop the train into a rail-themed restaurant and motel which would have been located on the I-29 and US 34 interchange. Before Charlie made the final payment on the train, he died in 1961, and it hasn't been moved, and it remained at the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy shops in West Burlington, Iowa. Then it was put for sale again. In 1962, the train was bought by Ernie Hayes of Mount Pleasant, Iowa, and it was soon moved there. It was kept at the Midwest Old Threshers grounds, which is in McMillan Park in the town. In 1968, Ernest donated the train to Midwest Old Threshers in Mount Pleasant, Iowa, and it was closer to the Midwest Central Railroad there. Car 500, which is an extra car to the train and is the other coach dinette car and is named Effie Dean. It is the 5th car added onto the train. That car was originally part of the Pioneer Zephyr, which is on display at the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago, Illinois. When the Pioneer Zephyr was donated to the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago, it was figured, well, there was no room for the 4th car, so the Pioneer Zephyr was just shortened down to 3 cars. Instead, that car was given to the Mark Twain Zephyr. In 1972, the Mount Pleasant High School class of 1972 wrote the number 72 on the back of the Tom Sawyer car. In 1979, the train was badly vandalized and rocks were thrown at the windows and even china plates were destroyed. The Burlington Zephyr was then removed from Midwest Old Threshers. It was then sold to Alex Barquette, who planned to restore the Zephyr and possibly turn it into a tourist railroad that would carry passengers through Swope Park in Kansas City, but it sat on the siding on the southwest side of the city. Once it got to Kansas City, all 5 cars were connected to each other using the shared trucks. Almost immediately after purchasing the cars, they were moved to Mid-America Car Corporation, which is a business on the north side of Kansas City that had its own railroad yard and refurbished railroad cars. In 1988, it was bought by the 3 businessmen who formed the Mark Twain Zephyr Inc. They had hopes of teaming with the Coors Company, who they anticipated would pick the majority of the restoration costs, as in exchange for the rights to lease the train for a period of time. Silver Bullet beer would be promoted by the marketing campaign. The discussion between the Coors Brewing Company and the Mark Twain Zephyr Inc. ended without an agreement. The three men decided to relocate it to where they lived, which it was moved to Joliet, Illinois. It was stored on various siding at the Joliet Army Ammunition Plant. There were plans about an idea to build the Mark Twain themed amusement park in Bettendorf, Iowa, a dinner train from Chicago to the Quad Cities, or a stationary restaurant and hotel in Downers Grove or DeKalb, Illinois. In 1997, it was then moved to Minooka, Illinois, and was stored at the Relco plant there. Toward the end of 2007, Relco decided to close down the Minooka plant, and the Mark Twain Zephyr Inc. had to find a new location to put it. In 2008, it was moved to Gateway Rail Services in Madison, Illinois, where it remained stored for years and standing off the shared trucks. Management was interested in potentially getting the contract on rebuilding the Zephyr, but the deal fell through. It remained gutted and windowless, and the train was just left untouched for years. In 2020, the Wisconsin Great Northern Railroad bought the Zephyr. Semi-trucks moved all 5 cars, 1 per trailer, and the trucks all had to ride on 1 trailer. The plan was to restore it to operation on the Wisconsin Great Northern Railroad. The Effie Dean was made as the museum car. The Mark Twain Zephyr finally had windows for the first time since the vandalism in Mount Pleasant, Iowa, and even had new floorings added, as well as new furniture. In 2023, it was placed back onto its trucks, and the locomotive body and cars behind it were all connected with each other for the first time in years as well. Today, it is preserved here at the Wisconsin Great Northern Railroad in Trego, Wisconsin, where it is today. Also, at the time I've made this video, the Zephyr is just 90% finished to being completed, and it should be in operation in no time.